Well, I'm thrilled to join you graduates for this very important occasion and this very memorable day. At this commencement, BYU Hawaii will award 203 bachelor's degrees and 15 associate degrees for a total of 218 degrees. And the graduates represent 19 different countries of the world and 25 different states across the United States of America. You range in age today, you graduates from 20 to 59 years old. Now, before I give my talk, let me do a brief visual demonstration to illustrate who's graduating and to kind of give the audience a sense of who you are. So, graduates, will all of you who are international students, would you please stand so we can just see kind of that proportion? You want to stand if you're an international student? Thank you very much. Okay. Now, would you please be seated? Would all of you graduates who speak two different languages, would you please stand, however you learned them, two different languages? Could we just see that, kind of a visual? All right, great. Now, will you stay standing if you speak 3 or more languages? 4 or more languages? Oh, you rascals. 5 or more languages? Okay, that's enough. Thank you very much. Now, I want to acknowledge one other group. For all of you who are the first person to graduate from college in your family, would you please stand? Let's just see how many we have of that group. That's remarkable. Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you. Thank you so very much. And were all of you graduates who worked, other than doing your schoolwork, but who worked to help support yourself through school while you were going to school, would you please stand so we can sort of see that group? Yeah. Now we have a special program here called iWork. If you're an iWork student, would you remain standing? Let's just see how many iWork students we have among you. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. And finally, just one last group. Would you stand if you're someone who joined the church as what we call a convert? We're all converted, but joined the church as a convert. Would you stand? Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. You may be seated. So BYU is really a special place. It's a remarkable student body, and this just gives one way of illustrating that. Now, it's my privilege to address the graduates. This, as I said just a minute ago, is a joyful and a happy time for you graduates and your families, and really for the whole university community. We rejoice with you today. However, for some graduates, including some that I've spoken with just this week, the joy of graduation is tinged with a bit of nostalgia, some apprehension, and even a little bit of anxiety. After all, most of you are facing the prospect of leaving a Hawaiian paradise. Also, you're about to bid farewell to a familiar and somewhat sheltered world of the ivory tower to enter a less familiar and less sheltered existence in the so-called real world. Today, some of you may be feeling, in a phrase from a Broadway musical, both excited and scared. Thinking about your situation, I'm reminded of Adam and Eve as they leave paradise to enter the world outside of Eden. And when I think of that, I often think of John Milton's sublime epic, Paradise Lost. Milton depicts Adam and Eve as shedding some natural tears as they look back on their garden home that they have loved so much, but also as looking forward with hope and joy to the world that lies all before them, knowing that, owing to the atonement of Jesus Christ, life outside the garden has the potential for even greater happiness and growth. This is essentially the way that we in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints envision Adam and Eve's exodus from Eden. So, drawing on church doctrine and a lifetime of study of John Milton, may I offer you 3 lessons as you leave paradise. First lesson, you are meant to leave Eden. It was never intended for Adam and Eve to stay in paradise, nor for you to stay in school. Your parents and your university want to see you launched as graduates, We've been looking forward to this. This is the plan. And likewise, God intends for his children to venture forth into a wider world. This is essential to his plan. Why? Because the Lord wants us to grow rather than to stagnate in paradise. His plan, unlike Satan's, is calculated to promote growth rather than merely restrain vice. I like the way Milton says this. God surely esteems the growth and completing of one virtuous person more than the restraint of 10 vicious. In the light of this celestial calculus focusing on growth, the Lord sends his children into a world where there is both agency and opposition in all things. For without that, righteousness could never be brought to pass, nor happiness. This famous teaching by the prophet Lehi reminds me of an also famous quote by the poet John Milton, who says, "I cannot praise a fugitive and cloistered virtue that never sallies forth and sees her adversary, for that which purifies us is trial, and trial is by that which is contrary." So we as your parents and your alma mater today send you graduates sallying forth into the world, like Adam and Eve, out of paradise and into a world of opposition and risk, but also of greater possibility for growth, service, and joy. This has been the plan from the beginning. It's a plan of happiness and a plan of growth. So that's the first lesson. You are meant to leave Eden. Second lesson, you are actually meant to eat from the tree of knowledge. Many people read the biblical story of Adam and Eve as a cautionary tale against seeking knowledge. Not John Milton. For him, the fall does not consist in aspiring to know what God knows. It consists in failing to obey God's prohibition. Milton's view is perfectly captured by the prophet Jacob in the Book of Mormon, who states, "To be learned is good if they hearken to the counsels of God." To be learned is good. I believe that with my whole soul. God has given us minds capable of reason and inquiry, of questioning and learning and imagination, curiosity, wonder, and discovery. And these are divine gifts. We honor God, whose glory is intelligence, by loving him with all of our minds. Interestingly, in Milton's Eden, God both provides many opportunities to learn and encourages Adam and Eve to learn. And he sends angels to educate them. Before the fall, they learn of things both in heaven and in earth, under the earth, and things which have been and are, and things which must shortly come to pass. And after the fall, they learn of the wars and perplexity that would beset the nations, and especially of the atonement of Jesus Christ. I hope you graduates have also learned these things while you've been here in this little educational Eden, and that some of your teachers may have even been angelic, sent by God to bless your lives. I encourage you to continue both to learn and to hearken, for truly to be learned is good, so long as you hearken to the counsels of God. And this is my second lesson for you graduates on leaving paradise today. It's a lesson beautifully articulated by Milton's Adam just before he leaves Eden. Let me quote from his final words in the poem. He says, "Greatly instructed I shall hence depart, greatly in peace of thought, and have my fill of knowledge. Henceforth I learn that to obey is best, and love with fear the only God, to walk as in his presence, ever to observe his providence, and on him sole depend. Taught this by his example, whom I now acknowledge, my Redeemer, ever blessed." My dear graduates, may you too leave paradise greatly instructed, determined to obey and love God, to walk as in his presence, following his providence, that which means his guidance, with the testimony of Jesus, our Redeemer, ever blessed, on your lips and engraved in your hearts. Now the third lesson and the last lesson. You can take paradise with you if you live the gospel. After Adam utters this speech I just quoted, and the angel who will escort him out of Eden responds, "This having learnt, thou hast attained the sum of wisdom. Hope no higher, though all the stars thou knewest by name. Only add deeds to thy knowledge answerable." Let me repeat that again. Only add deeds to thy knowledge answerable. Add faith, add virtue, patience, temperance, add love. By name to come called charity, the soul of all the rest. Then thou wilt not be loath to leave this paradise, but shall possess a paradise within thee, happier far. To know the truth is vital, including eternal truth. But knowing truth is not enough. You must add deeds answerable to your knowledge. And even more than deeds, you must add godlike character traits, such as faith, virtue, patience, temperance, and love. These divine attributes Milton draws from Peter's second epistle, where he describes how we can become partakers in the divine nature and have our calling and election made sure. As you acquire the divine nature, especially godlike charity, you too will not be loath to leave paradise, but shall possess a paradise within you, happier far. Now, my dear graduates, I think you've all heard, as I've heard, people say after a beautiful day in Laia, "Well, it's another day in paradise." Most of you will soon leave such days in paradise. But like Adam and Eve, you can take paradise within you, a paradise sweeter and happier far, if you acquire the divine nature and above all charity, the pure love of Christ, the soul of all other godly virtues. Here in Hawaii, you have learned another name for charity. It's called aloha. I hope and pray that you will take the spirit of aloha with you wherever you go. Then you will possess this paradise within, happier far, and more enduring than that which you can find in any garden island. And by incorporating in your soul the spirit of aloha, or the pure love of Christ, you will make the world more paradisal as you leave today, both for yourselves and for everyone you come in contact with. So now in conclusion, let me quote the final lines from this wonderful epic, Paradise Lost, and use them to offer my benediction upon you. The poem ends with Adam and Eve looking back wistfully on Eden, but also forward hopefully on the world that lies before them. And it ends with these 5 lines. Some tears they shed, but wipe them soon. The world was all before them, where to choose their place of rest, and providence their guide. They hand in hand, with wandering steps and slow, through Eden took their solitary way. May you too take providence as your guide as you leave paradise, for the world lies all before you, full of new possibilities where and how to live and to choose your new places of rest wherever you go. May you take providence for your guide and walk with God, and He will walk with you. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.